few months ago, Redline did a presuppositional funeral. Basically, he gathered some people together and talked about how the Presup argument was dead. 2 months ago. Then today, Alex Botten says that the Presup is dead. He made 2 videos, one talking about it and the other one clarifying it. Robert Wallace, another YouTube atheist, talks about how it's been dead for a long time, or almost from the get-go, or from the beginning, I forget now, but just for a really long time. Me? I disagree. The Presup argument, it's alive and well, but it's in a midlife crisis. Why do I say this? Well, we've been bragging about how dead it is for a long time, and the Psy and the Cyclones have still continued on. I absolutely agree that their argumentations are getting exposed for what they are, and we're seeing the flaws and the chinks in their armor, and it won't be long. But if we start calling it now, if we start calling a doctor in and start calling it a time of death, well, first off, it makes people stop wanting to learn the presuppositional argument. And when you do that, you take away the opportunity for people to learn it and then maybe exploit or find something, a weakness in the argument, maybe that nobody's seen before, or at least better understand it. To act like it's dead, I think of, some kind of James Bond villain, or better yet, since we're talking about Christians here, let's just go with Jesus. I'm sure everybody thought Jesus was dead, and then, he came back. And so I think these Christians, they're going to double down even harder, because they're going to wait for their Savior, Cy Ten Bruggencate, to come back in a few days and come up with something, or, say something that, atheists don't know right now. So if we call it too soon, then they're going to learn something, and they're going to say something, and they're going to change up the argument in some manner, and then he's going to stump somebody, and then their faith is going to be renewed. And we only would have ourselves to blame. The thing is this. I would have to assume that the Christians that are behind Cy Ten's, their support that Cy Ten level of presuppositional arguments, they have to be aware somehow that their argument is a distortion of true presuppositional arguments. Started off by people like Van Til, and and most recently furthered by people like Greg Bonson and people like that. Ones that know the true Presup argument before Cy Ten came along and distorted it, and and basically just ruined it. They have to know that they're looking at it wrong. I would at least think so. And so it seems like to me that I would think the next best thing that the Psy and the Cyclones will do is maybe fall back into true presuppositionalism, or maybe Psy will die out and somebody else who's going to be spearheading the true sup movement. Because still at that point, even though we have plenty of great arguments against it, it still is their best bet to be able to hold on to Christianity. And there's something else, and this isn't really so much about the death of Presup, but about Presup in general. I find it funny is that how Presup has evolved. I remember from the toward the beginning, they would ask can you be wrong about everything you know? And it wasn't long before people like Ozymandias Ramsey II and others. And by the way, if you really want to understand Presup and be at least be able to keep your head above water and know some really good points to make and how to understand and how to read Presups, Go to Ozymandias Ramses 2. I'm going to put his link below. He covers it really fucking well. I mean, he's got like, 1 3.5 hour long video, which is, well, it's long. And then another one, he did with the New Covenant group. He did 2 that just completely destroyed it, and a couple other ones as well. I highly recommend it. Go check it out. If you plan to just understand what they mean by the Presup argument and how to help defeat it. At least the Cyclone brand. But the simple fact is this, though, it evolved from, because they no longer say, can you be certain or wrong about everything you know, because now they know that we're going to say no. Now they also know to not say, he reveals it to me the way that I can be certain, because now we've, see that certainty has no, verification for truth. It doesn't mean anything. It just means a person's really, really sure of it. And people can be absolutely certain of things and absolutely be wrong. And so that's why I started thinking, if they're getting this divine wisdom, or this divine truth, and this divine logic, and, that God is the center of all logic, and blah, 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 how can their argument be so wrong? I mean, why does it need to evolve? And why is people like the Psi-10 and then the Cyclones argument ripped off from another presuppositional argument who say that they have the truth? But yet, Psi and company have the best argument. Only one group of people can be right. I mean, yes, their overall thing is the same, but obviously one of them is wrong, and their logical reasoning is bass-ackwards somewhere. But how can it be divinely inspired or absolutely certain, etc., etc.? And if it has to be evolved, it has to change, and it has to fit into the skeptic's reply to it. I don't know. It probably doesn't really mean much of anything to the overall argument, but I found that interesting. But overall, seriously, don't call it dead. Don't act like it's dead. Don't think that it's dead. Don't even pretend or think or whatever. It's not dead. It's still going to be around. There are going to be people that are going to want to follow it still. They're still going to hang on to the argument. And think of all the lame-ass arguments that they still follow. And we have evidence for the contrary, and they still hang on to it. Presuppositionalism is not going to be any different. It's going to be a very small portion of people. It's not dead, but it's definitely not fertile. It's not going to produce any further offspring. I don't think we're going to really see too many more people, especially nobody's really getting converted by it, because it's not a convincing argument. It's more of an argument for people that already believe, and which is pretty much any argument that they have going on right now. It's just a convincing argument that's convincing for those that already believe, but even more so for Presup. So it's in a midlife crisis at this point. Next step, nursing home. But it's not dead. It's not dead. But it's close. This is the Atheist Chef signing off. Peace.